The storyline we know about Incredibox Sprunki was developed after the official release of the mod, which means there's a good chance we might see something entirely new soon, specifically a third phase. Since Phase 2 became famous for the tragic loss of many Sprunki, the likelihood of seeing brand new characters has increased significantly. In this video, we'll discuss the most likely candidates who could appear in the near future. Currently, Simon and Veneria are the only characters capable of transforming into monsters. But meet a potential new Sprunki, Flen. This character is designed as a flower who, in their childhood, might have been one of Ratty's closest friends, judging by their shared facial expressions. If that's the case, it's possible that Flen, after transforming into a monster, was the one who killed Ratty in such a brutal way. Adding to this theory, we've seen a rather realistic concept for Flen's Phase 3 design. If Phase 3 follows the natural progression of events in the Incredibox Sprunki world, we can expect even greater horrors with each new phase. Another intriguing potential new Sprunki could be C, whose color scheme bears a strong resemblance to Sky, a character we already know well. C and Sky are brothers, and since Sky is the youngest Sprunki at only 16 years old, it's likely that C is his older sibling. C was also closely connected to Tunner, the sheriff in the Sprunki universe, and it's quite possible that C acted as his deputy. Given the confirmed fact that Wenda killed at least one Sprunki, Tunner, who was shot with his own weapon, it's highly likely that C was her next victim, especially considering how much time the two spent together. If you examine C's demise, it's clear he was stabbed to death. And who's the best with a knife? That's right, our favorite, Wenda. It's possible that C tried to involve his younger brother in this duo, which would put Sky at risk of becoming the third victim. The most mysterious newcomer is undoubtedly Thundy. With a strikingly futuristic appearance, this Sprunki is a technological genius. While we're well aware of Kluker's passion for creating robots and cyborgs, could he really have achieved all of it on his own? Of course not. Thundy was Kluker's best friend for a long time, but at some point, everything turned upside down. Kluker was hailed as the genius, while Thundy was forgotten, a blow that deeply affected his mental state. He eventually lost his sanity and grew to resent Kluker, though he couldn't openly show his hatred. It's possible Thundy foresaw the impending chaos and struck a deal with Wenda and the other killers, ensuring they'd leave Kluker alone. After all, Kluker was Thundy's primary target. Driven mad with rage and desperate for revenge, Thundy delivered a devastating blow to Kluker's head, leading to the horrifying scene that reveals the circumstances of Kluker's death. The fact that Thundy doesn't have any alternate appearance only adds credibility to the likelihood of these events unfolding just as described. Beige definitely deserves a spot in today's video, as it's easy to guess from his ears and eyes that he's the brother of none other than Gray. We know Gray as a timid and deeply depressed Sprunki, someone who's scared of just about everything, even in Phase 1. And all of that can be traced back to Beige. From childhood, Beige tormented Gray, disrupting his life and constantly setting him up for failure, which ultimately led to the state Gray is in now. But despite his harsh and twisted version of love, Beige is genuinely willing to protect Gray at any moment. In fact, the reason Gray is so good at hiding might even stem from Beige's influence, especially considering that Beige has a passion for martial arts. A potential Phase 3 might introduce us to a host of new Sprunki we've never seen before. However, there's at least one Sprunki we already know, but still know almost nothing about. Of course, I'm talking about Black. He's the one Sprunki who, while being a central figure, always remains shrouded in mystery. Phase 3 could finally give us the answers we've been waiting for. Who is Black, really? Until that happens, though, I'd like to share some intriguing theories about Black's true identity and whether we can blame him for the events that unfolded in the world of Incredibox Sprunki. Black isn't just an ordinary Sprunki. In fact, he's not a Sprunki at all. He's a terrifying demon who came to the Sprunki world straight from hell and dragged everyone into his domain. But how did he even end up with the other Sprunki? The developer officially confirmed 2 key details. Jevin is a cultist, and Black didn't kill certain characters, including Jevin, simply because he forgot about them. Additionally, Nyanko clarified that Jevin is not a killer and is actually on the good side. So what if Jevin, in his fascination with cult practices, accidentally summoned Black? Maybe he got something wrong during a ritual, and this mistake unleashed the demon into their world. Once there, Black hypnotized Wenda and a few others, sending them all to his hellish realm, where the events we know unfolded. Interestingly, Black didn't kill anyone directly. Instead, his influence drove all the Sprunki to madness, causing them to destroy one another. Some fell under his hypnosis, others lost their minds entirely and started killing without any real purpose, and some were physically transformed into monsters. For example, Simon's transformation ultimately turned out fine, but the plant canonically growing within Veneria's body was corrupted by Black. As a result, the very thing inside Veneria ended up killing her. As for Jevin, Black might have spared him not just because he forgot, but because Jevin is, in a way, his master. It wouldn't make much sense, or be very polite, for Black to kill the Sprunki, who, albeit accidentally, gave him the opportunity to execute his sinister plan. But what if Black is actually a good character who fell under the negative influence of another Sprunki? The most obvious and straightforward culprit here is Wenda, who's officially a killer. She brutally murdered Tunner, and we know that Tunner was not only the sheriff of the Incredibox Sprunki universe, but also someone who was always ready to protect others. Oddly enough, Tunner became Wenda's first victim. While Wenda's confirmed body count currently includes only Tunner, many fans believe this is just the beginning of a much larger story we haven't been told yet. For a long time, Wenda may have been trying to manipulate other Sprunki to assist her in carrying out her gruesome plans. Black, as it turns out, may have succumbed to her influence, ultimately ending up on the bad side. Considering that the developer confirmed Black didn't kill certain characters simply because he forgot about them, it's safe to assume that some Sprunki, who couldn't hide or escape, fell victim to both Wenda and Black. This means Black isn't necessarily the ultimate villain, or even a killer in the Sprunki universe. So much as a pawn. He may be one of the few, or even the only Sprunki, who fell prey to Wenda's manipulation and began killing not because of insanity, like another character we discussed earlier, but because of Wenda's devious schemes. This final theory dismisses Black's existence as a physical being entirely. Instead, it suggests he's merely a symbol of transition and chaos. Let's take a closer look. One of the most underrated characters in the Incredibox Sprunki universe is Mr. Fun. In the second phase, he says some intriguing lines. Nothing here is real, yet everyone is dead. This cryptic statement hints that the events of the second phase might be distorted, perhaps even imagined. And in this context, Black is simply a metaphor for what's happening rather than a tangible being. According to this theory, the so-called hell isn't real, but a vivid hallucination experienced by Gray. Gray is portrayed as a deeply anxious and fragile character, and it's plausible that some event pushed him to his breaking point. This mental collapse could have led to a catastrophic chain of events, the mass destruction of the Sprunki. The horrors we see in the second phase might be Gray's way of processing the guilt and pain he felt after realizing what he'd done. In short, Black isn't a physical character at all, but represents the turning point in Gray's life. What do you think about the new characters and Black's personality reveal in the new phase? Well, now it's time to say goodbye, bye-bye.